In the municipality of Puerto Berrio in Colombia is located the village of Alto de Buenos Aires, a place of cocoa vocation that for more than 70 years has developed agriculture around this fruit that the Mayans and Aztecs called the food of the gods. It's 600 meters above sea level. Its climate and geography make it an ideal place for the cultivation of cocoa. We visited the family company Chocolates Buenos Aires to learn about their experience in the process of growing cloned cocoa, a propagation of the fruit that is done by grafting in order to ensure a good genotype of the tree to produce a better quality chocolate. The process to make a good cocoa crop, well, consists of several stages. The first is the establishment. The second is the support and finally the production. Then we seek, first, that the climate conditions, that the soil conditions are suitable for cultivation. Then the cocoa is produced very well in Colombia between 0 and about 1.250 meters above sea level. We need a rainfall between 1500 and 2500 average, that it is an area where the winds are not extremely strong, the relative humidity in general of 80% and let's say in the soil can be very important in the beginning of the physical properties of the soil. Like the chemical properties, well, all tropical soils have a relative peculiarity, and is that they are poor in chemical elements. The pH are very low and the acidity is very high. Well, after selecting the soil, then we must choose very well the seed and the material that we are going to plant. In general, the crops in the last 20 years have been established, let's say, with clonable materials or with grafts, so this consists of two parts, the patterning and the clonable material, as such which are the buds that we are going to use in the grafting. But let's talk a little about the patterning. Here we have one more tree used essentially for rootstock, which is Colombian. So in Colombia we have three very good materials that we use as rootstock, which are the Caucasia de Caucasia, the low Cauca Antioquino, and here we use the Caucasia 39. There is also the 37 and 43, the three most used. So the characteristics of the rootstock is a tree of very good development, that resists pests and soil and stem diseases, that has very good anchorage. Then when you are going to make the grafted, we'll accept it because it has a facility to accept the tissue of the clone as such. It tolerates low pHs and very high acidity. These are the characteristics of a very good rootstock. In general, a pattern, let's say, people imagine that the seeds that one is going to sow are the biggest, are the most beautiful, the roundest. But the pattern has the characteristics in its cob and to the eye they do not seem very good. That is to say that the essential of this is its resistance. The pattern is almost all thick shell, small grains, which let's say in some cases disappoints the farmers who are taught to sow as the biggest. But genetically the biggest ones are not good, but these that come, they have their own special characteristics. So let's see that the granite is very small. What other characteristic does it have? All the patterns ripen yellow from green pods, they ripen yellow. These are the characteristics of the Forastero and Amolinado cocoa that complies with this rule. Then let's say inside it is the darkest violet. let's say in the colors of the bean, and there are the characteristics of a good pattern. Then the pod is opened. It is shelled, washed, and then it continues as the progress towards the nursery. After shelling the cob, the cocoa seed is covered by mucilage, which must be removed with sawdust. This should be left to dry completely so that when the time comes to plant it in the nursery, the pest does not attack it and the embryo can come out. Today I am going to explain what we need to make a substrate for sowing seed in a bag. The parts that we are going to use. Here we are going to use 10 parts of soil, 3 parts of rice husk, or if we don't have rice husk we can replace it with sawdust, which is wood shavings. The sawdust or husk is used so that in the bag there is a better drainage and the water does not puddle in the seed. We use 10 parts of soil, 3 of husk, or in this case sawdust, 1 of organic matter, and in this case would be 100 grams of agricultural lime. All this we stir well. What do you want well stirred? That the parts are well dissolved. And when we have well stirred the parts and materials that we will use, we will fill the bag. We will use this bag of 40 high. We will fill it. We step well on the base so that when we face in the nursery there are no problems and we do not fall. Well, once we have the bag full, we take it to the nursery. We face them and we proceed to sow the seed. Even the seed has a thicker part than the other, right? The thicker part is where the root will come out. It always goes downwards. We sow it so that the seed covers more or less half. That the soil is more or less half of the seed and the sowing in the bag is ready. In this bag they last approximately 5 months. For example, during the time that the tree remains here in the bag we must water it. If there is a lot of sun, we must put poly shade to cover it. Pest control: if a tree gets sick, we must remove it so that it does not affect the others. When they are 5 months old and are tall enough, we take them to the field, dig a hole, remove the bag, put them in the hole and proceed to planting. After approximately 5 months, when the cocoa tree has reached a considerable size, it is time to take it to the field to be planted. The nursery bag measures 40 centimeters, so it should be dug to a depth of 50 centimeters to leave 10 centimeters of soil moved at the bottom to ensure better root penetration. We are going to plant the rootstock. Then, we tear the bag. It can be because of this tie that the bag itself has, which makes it easier to open it. We are here at the bottom and I can protect it. I can protect the panel with the same bag and take it to the planting. In this way I will place it in the center of the hole, so that it can have the dispersion of the secondary roots that are going to feed the tree. I start then with this substrate that is also prepared with lime and organic matter to spread it, to disperse it all around the pattern that I am planting. It is essential to tread the soil around the pile or the pattern that we are planting. We tread it in such a way that there is not much air, that does not allow much penetration of moisture, so that the root of the tree does not rot, and very fundamental to have the rainy weather also present, which is essential for that. Then we tread and so on we fill it until we reach the edge of the lump. A cocoa crop like this one will have a useful life in production of approximately 25 years, so why not do it right from the beginning? Then, we farmers are very prone to plant it very quickly, in the required conditions, in the techniques, and after 10 years with something we are already. Then, many of us also let it go. There are times when we let it go out of the bag for a long time, then, the roots burst, and that is when difficulties start to appear in the roots that are going to affect the crop, so we plant it like that with those twisted roots and everything, and after 6 or 7 years the tree can dry out and produce nothing. So it is very important to have these conditions and the root as it is located, so that you can have a very good workability in the crop, at least. That can 25 years 30 years producing pays to do a job well done from planting. After a good planting process, the rootstock should be cared for between 6 months and a year, by which time it is ready for the grafting process. So in this branch we are going to notice several things. These are the ones that are going to sprout later on, these little seedlings, right? So these are the ones that we are going to plant there. It has 2 sides, one here is more burnt, that is where the sun was shining on the tree where it was taken from, and a clear one, obviously where the sun was not shining on it, so it will be light green. Then we first fix the bud, then we remove the petiole, understand it is the part that joins the leaf with the branch. It is the petiole, and we remove the ones that we are going to place. In general 2 are placed, if the buds are very far apart. We make a long cut here flush. We see that the 2 cuts are on the darker side. These are the buds that we are going to use. Let's see what the tree is. Then it is enough, and how it could be high so that the clone does not get close to the ground and avoids 2 very important diseases, but especially cytospora, or as it is called, trunk cancer. Then, with the knife we are going to make a wound about 45 or 50 centimeters long. We are going to make a wound. We are going to pull the peel. Let's say that is the first wound. Then on the light side we are going to peel, as straight as possible here. There is the yolk, and here we are going to pull. We are going to pull as far as we need. We open here and raise it, we cut it. Practically that is the process, and then comes the scintillata. The scintillate is the one that is going to cover this wound to prevent water from getting in. Then you see, and we are going to continue. Well, we have to cover it. well covered from the bottom up, and we finish here, ready. This prevents water from getting in. We leave it tied for a month, 30 days. After 30 days we are going to remove the tape. A week later we must come to check that, if it is alive. Then we start the progress, that is really the grafting. What is important is to have a very good rootstock, to have a very good clonal material, right? Let's say that it is in the right place. There are many clonable materials, then, one resists Manila, others resist Phytopia, others are very good producers, they are susceptible to some diseases, then there are points for everyone, the resistant ones close to where there is more humidity, the most susceptible ones in the highest parts, and with that we will have a very good crop. Approximately 6 months after the grafting process, it is important to start pruning the tree in order to give it an optimal architecture and conditions that allow the start of cocoa production. So let's say for this work, we are going to take into account several things. A very important one, I am going to show you here. There are 4 very important things, or 4 most important cutting techniques to make a pruning. The first one is that always in cocoa where you cut there must be a branch to replace. That means that if I cut in this way it is not right, I am leaving a stump and to make a cut. Then, it should be this way and leave a branch to replace it, that is the first one. Second one is that it should be flush, the third one bevel if necessary. Because let's say there are central and lateral trimming, then in the central ones it is very important the bevel or a fall, as they say. And the last one. Each branch has a knot or a healing stiletto. That is, each branch has a knot at the base, all of them in the cocoa. That stiletto is the one that heals the wound. The healing agent will only protect it, the first days, but it really closes the wound. Naturally, that is, it has the capacity to dry the wound if I did not damage the stiletto, so you have to take that into account. Those 4 cuts, they are really 4 techniques in a single cut. In this cut there are the 4, cut where there is someone to replace, flush bevel, and there is the stiletto without damage, so there are the 4 in a single cut. Cocoa is a cauliflower fruit, which means that it grows attached to the stem. So pruning ensures the correct clearing of this productive zone and also helps to improve the circulation of air and light to the fruit, thus achieving a correct leveling of the tree. A healing agent composed of copper oxychloride and acronal should be used in the cuts. The former is a fungicide that prevents a fungus from causing a phytosanitary problem, and the latter helps to better fix the copper oxychloride that waterproofs the wound. In summary, pruning prepares the tree better for its productive stage. Although he produces all year round, we have 2 peak harvests. One from October to December and the other more or less from March to June. These are the 2 peak harvests of the cocoa crop. So this is where we begin to distinguish the clones. These green ones are going to ripen yellow. That is why I will know the cob when it is ripe. From green it will turn yellow. So here I know it is ripe because it is yellow, and here it is green. The girl is still green and here it is already ripe, so we collect them. We put them in the buckets. We look for them. We pick them up and we put them in the buckets. Here we already have the yellow and green cocoa pods. So we are going to look for another kind of clones, which are the red ones. After harvesting the fruit, then, we proceed to open the cob to extract the seed or to extract the product, which is the cocoa. We make sure that there is no waste, and we deposit it in the bucket. We make sure that the placenta does not go away so that we can see a very good fermentation of the cocoa seed. Here we have, then, free of the placenta where the cob is feeding, where the products are fed. This is the uncovering and so on. We extract the seed and leave the placenta in the cocoa pod. When the cocoa beans are harvested, they are taken to a fermentation process to lower their acidity, where they must remain for about a week until they achieve their characteristic flavor. Well, here we have the freshly harvested cocoa. I am going to put it in this drawer. Here I leave it. Here I leave it for 48 hours. I cover it. I am going to cover it so that it ferments well. I cover it with this little sack. Well, after 48 hours I do this. I stir it here. I stir it so that it becomes homogeneous. Because if I don't stir it, only the one up here ferments and the one down here remains soft, so I need everything to be really even. When the cocoa is even, lowers the acidity, that is, the acidity of the cocoa. Here is the acidity of the cocoa. If I take it out so that it is white, the cocoa will be like this. I do not like it. I do not like cocoa in the market like this. After 48 hours I keep stirring it every 24 hours until 5 to 6 days. In 5 or 6 days it is ready to be taken to the canopy or to the dryer. Once in the canopy, the cocoa takes on its characteristic color and must remain there until it has dried to 7% humidity. A process that takes between 4 and 6 days depending on the climate. Well, here we already have the dry cocoa. After having it there in the canopy, how do we know that the cocoa is dry? As we do not have the moisture meter in the sound, it sounds toasted. That's the point, that's it. That's all. Once the cocoa is dry, it is ready to be taken to a processing plant, where it will be transformed into a rich chocolate or other essential byproduct.